Hey, it's Ken Pecoraro here with another edition of CPC Speaks. And I just wanted to talk about something that's I've heard it several times, and it's a phrase that I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard before. And most people say this from a well-meaning perspective, but it's one of those phrases that when you really break it down, it can actually be deceptive. And so let me know what that phrase is. And that phrase is when we're talking about substance use problems, addiction, when somebody says he has to want to change or she has to want to change. So that statement is about motivation, and it is important, and so therefore the statement is actually true. Somebody really essentially does have to want to change at some point for the ultimate level of commitment to be achieved. But the problem I have with that statement is I hear it all the time, and sometimes in the context that I've heard it, I hear family members saying, I've even heard treatment providers saying it, and often when the context of that statement is used, it's used in the statement to imply that, okay, so someone has to want to change, so therefore if they don't want to change, then there's nothing you can do. And that is where the deception is. That's where the misleading nature of that statement is. So, somebody says, "Oh man, I'm really struggling with my son. He just keeps relapsing and making mistakes, and this is an endless cycle." And then someone says to that person, "Well, he really has to want to change for this to work." And what is that family member supposed to do at that point? Say, "Oh, well, okay. Well, he doesn't want to change. All right, so here, I'll buy him a syringe and let him be on his merry way." It doesn't work that way. So that's the issue with the statement. Sorry, I hope there's a cricket here. I hope it's not getting picked up by the microphone. But that's what you get for recording at night. So it adds a little ambiance. So ultimately, a good analogy for that is think about a teacher. That's something that we all can identify with. We've all gone to school, and could you imagine a teacher has a struggling kid in the class, and the kid is giving the teacher a hard time over and over and over again, and the teacher says, the kid has to want to learn for this to get better, so therefore I'm just going to let the kid fail, or forget about it, my effort's not going to happen anymore. A teacher would never say that. What would the teacher do? The teacher would try different things. The teacher would try to be motivational, encouraging, make learning fun, as the phrase goes. So why should it be any different for substance use treatment? The truth is that in treatment, working in treatment all these years, when people enter treatment up front, most people, even if they say they want to change, deep down, there's always going to be that degree of ambivalence going on. So people come in the door to treatment centers all the time that aren't ready to change. So therefore, if we had they have to want to change attitude, a lot of people would be getting discharged who really could be helped. When it comes down to it, really, when people get pushed into treatment for various reasons, whether it be legal reasons or any different pressures, and I always say this when I'm doing different talking to people about treatment or marketing different programs, I always say, what? Let's do our best to get them in the door. If you get somebody in the door, the right counselor can do just what that teacher does: be motivational, be engaging, meet someone where they're at, and help the person to at least come back and start the process. Are they going to leave the intake session, the first session, saying, "Wow, that person was so convincing. I really want to get sober now. I want to stop using"? Of course not. But all you need to do is get somebody to come back, get somebody to give it a try. So that's my point with this, really, what's so important about it. The statements like, "Well, someone has to want to change," that can be a real drain of hope. And when hope is gone, motivation goes, and strength drains. So we really don't want that to happen. So yes, ultimately at that some point in the process, that internal motivation is key, and it's life-saving, but that can come later in the process. Counselors, our motivation and goal and our drive should be to be motivators, to see the people that don't want to change and say, you know what, I want to accept that challenge. The same way a teacher who sees that struggling kid or that kid with learning disabilities, say, all right, let's get the kid the extra help. Let's get the kid to a psychiatrist. Let's get the kid with the whatever he needs or she needs to be able to learn. So same thing in substance use treatment. Let's get the person psychiatrist. Let's get the person the therapy, the medication assisted treatment, those extra pieces to get it so that they can be ready to start to change. And that's what it comes down to. That's motivation. That's motivation building from the ground up, which really is essential in this whole process. And just one more illustration, for the average layperson, think about different foods that are good for you. You get every once in a while you get a food that's healthy and you happen to love it, and that's a blessing. But really, when you're growing up, things like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, your mom said they were good for you, your dad too, and you didn't like them at first. But if you introduce them enough times, sooner or later, as you mature, as you progress through a process of your family continuously saying, here, try the broccoli, let's try it different ways, let's add some cheese, whatever. Sooner or later, a lot of people eventually say, oh man, I love broccoli, and I'm one of those people. I happen to love broccoli. So I guess that covers the point. We can't give up on people. We want to provide hope, and we want to help people change from where they are, wherever that might be, whatever hopeless point that they might start at, whatever disappointed, discouraged point someone might start at. Let's get them to want to change.